think it helps a little bit that you and I do a podcast together because I'm a very established podcaster. It helps you and I are writing a book because I'm a very well-established author. And you and I have had these conversations. I'm like, Brittany, do you think you would do a podcast if it was just you or you and someone else? And you really couldn't answer that. And had I not prodded you, probably not. But the fact that you did, you led the podcast with Brittany Banky, you led the podcast with Wildman, that showed me, oh yeah, she don't need no Jimmy. She don't need no Jimmy no more. It took her a little bit to get the training wheels off that bicycle, but you are flying now. And the same thing with writing books. I see that you could do that on your own. And sometimes that desire to quit is only because of the unfamiliarity. And once you become familiar and once it becomes comfortable and you see, hey, I'm pretty good, I like this. And that's what happened for me with podcasting. I was so nervous as a first-time podcaster. Welcome back to the Living La Vida. I was so freaking nervous. And I remember I was at one of the conferences. This is like 2006 or 7. I forget exactly when I started doing interviews the first time. And I was at one of these obesity conferences, and Dr. Westman, who I ended up writing Keto and Cholesterol Clarity with, he said, hey, you should interview people. I'll let you interview me if you want to interview. I'm not interview. So I'm writing out all these questions, and I've got the paper. Doctor, I was so nervous. And I've gotten a little better at it since then. But how easy would it have been in that moment to just say, I got to give this up. I'm not good enough. But look at what would have been robbed for me and the world had I done that.
Had you done that? Yeah. Again, I go back to that self-awareness of, even though it would have been so easy to quit, it would have been so easy to say, oh no, this is the time for me to move on, not keep going. You decided that you saw something bigger and you kept going. And, back to what you were asking me earlier, I know that somehow, some way, whatever I end up doing will have to do with words. Most likely more talking than writing, but I am good at both. But I am very good at talking. I've always been very good at talking, and I've made this joke with my family. Might as well do that for a career because I'm pretty good at it, and I enjoy public speaking. I enjoy interviewing type things. I've never fully had the chance to interview somebody, but I enjoy doing that kind of stuff, and so why not? So here it comes.
Your world debut of interviewing. You get 5 minutes to interview Jimmy Moore. Go.
I knew you were going to do this. Gosh. Don't do this to me. I freeze up in these situations.
4 minutes, 45 seconds left. Go.
It's time to move on.
All right, let me give you a topic. Ask me about my upcoming 100-day challenge.
Okay, Jimmy, so I heard something is coming. I heard that you are teasing everybody about this 100-day challenge. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so I have decided that September the 1st, which again, this might be past September 1st by the time this airs, but September 1st, starting 50 days, I'm going to do this kind of challenge for myself where I push myself to do all of these things, biohacks, things like infrared sauna and red light therapy and grounding, eating well and fasting every other day, just kind of doing things to challenge Jimmy. And I'll do that for 50 days, talk about it on my social media, and then invite my followers to come up with their own version of like a 50-day challenge to do that. And then I'll keep going with mine 50 more days. It's all leading up to my 50th birthday, which is in December. And so it'll be 100 days. And so I look forward to, and that's what's going to be my motivation to not want to quit and to keep going. But that's what the plan is.
That's incredible. So what inspired this?
You were part of it. Because you and I were talking about 75 Hard. And when you were talking about wanting to do 75 Hard, I'm like, yeah, I want to do something like that, but I don't really like Andy Frisella's program. It wasn't hard enough for me. Like I had to really kind of step it up. And I don't mean to disrespect what you're doing because I think what you're doing is phenomenal. But for me, it was just, I needed to do something for me. And for me, I never got to do the physical aspect of why I went away on sabbatical 2 years ago. So this is me basically doing that part over while still being here, not going away on sabbatical. Thus, I call it the stay-batical, because I'm staying around and I'm heading to my 50th birthday with this. Just the time was right. And plus, seeing what you've been going through with your 75 hard has been very inspiring to say, okay, I'm going to run into some of those mental problems, and I'm probably going to be boo-hooing to her on like day 14 and Brittany. So that.
Are you ready for Brianka? Because Brianka's not gonna let Jimmy quit.
Brianka, she better come out and tell me all the things I need to do, and she I'm doing.
Oh goodness. Okay. All right. I got a little interview in there. Okay, but let's move on.
See, guys, she knows how to interview. She don't need no Jimmy Moore.
Well, I needed him to interview.
Well, as your guests, you know what? I'm gonna line you up some guests and make you start interviewing people live on Instagram or something.
See, and I knew when I opened my mouth, I knew it was like, oh, here we go. Jimmy's gonna challenge me now. He done heard it.
But you know what? If I didn't challenge you, you would automatically dismiss it and move on and say, I could never. But now I've challenged you, and I'm the easiest interview you'll ever have because I adore you. We're best friends. We talk on a podcast every week. So it's not like I'm hard to interview. And plus, you knew all the answers that I shared. It wasn't like that was new information to you.
Right.
So, yeah, but like it demonstrated for you, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a key in this too, that decision to move on or to stick around, you just need proof of concept that it's worth sticking around. Like even in like relationships, I think about these people that they reconcile because, okay, they see something in that other person that they didn't see before, and then their eyes are open and they're like, oh, well, okay, I never saw that before or saw a perspective of it. And then vice versa. You have to make that decision. Are they willing to change? And you've even run into this with a relationship in your life where you were at that conundrum. Should I push them away or should I try to keep working and cultivating it? And you chose the latter and you cultivated it. And now you two are very close again.
Right. And I chose the latter. And I want to make this very clear. I chose the latter after very strict, strong boundaries.
Yes.
I said, I will move on. I want to move on, but I am not willing, like, move on with the relationship. I guess that would be considered press forward with the relationship.
With the relationship, yes.
I wanted to continue with the relationship, but only under the bounds of this line cannot be crossed again. I am not comfortable with this line being crossed. And maybe that's something that we need to do here and talk about, that if you do decide to press on or press forward with something, a relationship, a job, or whatever, put boundaries on it and even conditions. Let's say you're in a job and you're decided this job is really hard, but you know what? I want to stay. I want to try it out. Put a boundary and say, if this is crossed, this is my moment to be done. This is I'm moving on kind of moment.
Well, look at your 75 hard on those couple days where that second workout was challenging and it was everything you could do to just walk 3 miles in your house, pacing back and forth. And in your mind, you could say, well, that doesn't count. And so therefore I'm going to walk away. No, you decided to press on. And in fact, you overachieved with the 3 miles in your house because I think your goal was 2 miles. And then you're like, well, I'm still here. I'm still talking to my husband. I might as well just keep pacing. And you ended up at 3 miles. And so that scratched and itched in your head of, okay, it's not what I wanted to do, but it's more than what I would have done. And so you kind of played this little game in your head of, I balanced it out, so therefore it helped me to press on. Whereas if you only did the 2 miles, then maybe in your head you're like, okay, it's over. Even though I'm continuing, it's over. So you would have less motivation. And a lot of this is just psyching ourselves into, oh, it's going to be okay. Like with my 100 days, I'm not doing the Andy thing where if you mess up a day, it's all over. You go back to 0. I'm not doing that. But I also am a very strong self-starter. I will do it. But if there's a day, like I have a travel day or two in that period of time, I'm not going to fret if I don't get all the everything in. I'm going to do the best I can to get as many of them in. But I'm not going to sit there and go, oh my gosh, it's 11:45 and 9. No, I'm not playing those. The point isn't always perfection, Miss Perfectionist. The point is pursuing better. And if you're pursuing better, then that's worth continuing on and pressing on. You don't just give up just because you have a little rough patch.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the program, though, is that, yes, there are these guidelines, and I have pushed every single one of the guidelines. I've drank more than a gallon of water in a day just because I wanted to. I have read, and listen, guys, this past week, one of the days, I read an entire 244-page book in under 24 hours just because I could, on top of doing all the other things that I usually do. It's just because I was like, how much can I read? It was this internal drive of how far can I go? Can I do this much? And so I knew I could do 10 pages. I had done 10 pages for 20 plus days. But can I do an entire book in a day and get all of my other things done? Last night, I knew that typically speaking, if I'm walking and pacing in my house, I can easily get 2 miles in 45 minutes if I'm just pacing my house. And I got to that point and I was like, can I do 3? Can I do more? And again, the choice was either sit down and have a conversation with my husband or continue to pace my house and continue to keep going. And that's when I was like, I'm going to keep going. And so it's just been really cool that the program, it allows you to scale it. You know, you can push really hard one day as long as you get your 45 minutes, or maybe it's a day where you just have nothing. Then you just walk for 45 minutes and you can scale that. But I love this ability, and it's just applying to all other areas of my life. Now, sometimes with the reading and writing, I have to scale it back a little bit and know that it's okay if I don't get it absolutely all done in that day. It's not like 75 hard where you just have to keep going, but it's moved on into, like doing the laundry, doing 1 load of laundry versus, I wonder if I could do 3 today.
So, Brittany, I want to ask about Enneagram's relationship to this, because you're a 1, I'm a 3. And I wonder if personality type, we're both type A personalities. You're, like I said, Enneagram 1, I'm Enneagram 3. Does that play any role in, at least of what you've looked at with Enneagram and this topic, of making you want to press on versus backing away? Are there more submissive kind of Enneagrams where they would have a greater propensity to walk away from things sooner and maybe prematurely where they should have pressed on, versus the other way around of sticking around too long? Do you know any kind of relationship?
The 2 that jump out the most at me that could potentially have an issue are 7s and 9s. So 7s are your adventurers. And so the only reason why they may choose to not press forward is in those moments where it's hard or too difficult, they would rather have less structure and more just enjoy every moment of everyday life. They're more about the reward. And whereas 1s are the complete opposite of, yeah, sure, the reward is nice, but it's about the path to get there. And 7s kind of jump over everything of, I want the reward first and I'll do the rest stuff later or never.
And that's Cammie.
That's Cammie. Yes, that's Cammie. And I love that about her, but that's something that she will have to deal with later on in life, of understanding that, all right, let's pace ourselves, like understand and acknowledge and even be excited about the fact that you're an adventurer and that's what you desire in life. But, so I can see an issue there. And then 9, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but you express that one sometimes in as much as you move on from things pretty quick. So I wonder if, like, when you're under stress or have the kind of worst version of 1, doesn't it kind of express as a 7? And so
Vice versa. So
Vice
if
versa.
you guys want to know more about Enneagram, it's episode 6.